Hello and welcome to Virtuosity. I'm Corey, co-founder of Virtuosity, and I'll be leading you through this introduction to collaboration. The curtain rises, the actors step on stage, the lead forgets their line. In most plays, that's failure. The story stalls. But with improv, it's the spark. The others don't freeze or correct. They build, they say yes and suddenly, the scene moves in a direction no one could have written. That's collaboration. We can set plans and coordinate, but collaboration is about co-creation, taking what's laid out and making it better together. Jazz makes this visible too. Even with a basic structure, musicians build on each other's ideas, shaping something alive in real time. Psychologist Keith Sawyer studied improv groups and found that their best scenes weren't the product of a single clever idea, but of how performers responded to one another. Yes and kept momentum alive. No but shut it down. Collaboration isn't about sticking to the script or competing for control. It's about creating the conditions where ideas can surprise us, connect, and grow into something no one could have produced alone. Let's break down what we mean by collaboration. Too often, organizations assume they have collaboration covered, treating it as a competency, almost interchangeable with teamwork. But collaboration is more than dividing tasks or keeping everyone moving in the same direction. Collaboration as a virtue is about what happens in the spaces between people, how ideas connect, shift, and grow when shared. It's about embodying behaviors like openness and flexibility so that working together becomes co-creation, not just coordination. And that's also what makes collaboration essential for leadership. It helps people recognize when to step forward and take the lead, and when to step back, actively supporting others to lead by creating space for their voice, their ideas, their creativity. Both are forms of effective leadership anchored in collaboration. People who collaborate don't just contribute their part and step away. They listen closely, pick up on cues, and add something that makes the whole stronger. They stay open when the unexpected happens, turning surprise into possibility instead of shutting it down. Collaboration also requires trust. Trust that others will bring their perspective, and trust in yourself to offer yours when it matters. It's not about giving up control, but about sharing it, so that something better can emerge than anyone could create alone. When collaboration is real, it feels less like executing a plan and more like discovering one together. It's co-creation, alive, dynamic, and richer than any single mind could produce alone. According to the Leader Character Framework, collaboration is made up of 5 core behaviors: being collegial, seeking to resolve differences amicably; being cooperative, building and sustaining strong relationships; being flexible, listening openly and adapting when circumstances change; being interconnected, recognizing and valuing the ties that link people and communities; and being open-minded, welcoming dialogue and perspectives that challenge assumptions. Let's bring collaboration to life. Imagine a jazz quartet on stage. Each musician has their instrument, their own style, their own ideas. The music only works when they tune into each other, listening, responding, and building something together. Collaboration is that interplay. But when collaboration is deficient, the music turns harsh. One player drowns out the others, confrontational, self-centered, unwilling to bend. Instead of harmony, it's noise. In real life, that might look like dominating conversations, dismissing input, or shutting down ideas before they can grow. Relationships fracture and trust erodes. Balancing these tendencies often requires other dimensions of character. It takes humanity to recognize and value the contributions of others, humility to step back and try something new, and courage to step forward when leadership is needed. It takes temperance to stay composed when things don't go as planned, transcendence to imagine new possibilities when fresh ideas emerge, and justice to ensure every voice is heard and respected. Swing too far the other way, though, and collaboration becomes excess. The music softens into something formless. No one takes the lead. People defer, comply, avoid conflict, or blur boundaries. The song drifts without direction. In life, that looks like avoiding hard conversations, agreeing just to keep the peace, or letting groupthink replace real dialogue. Here, too, other dimensions of character matter. Courage is needed to voice dissent, drive to move ideas forward, accountability to follow through on commitments, and integrity to contribute your perspective authentically among others. Collaboration, like jazz, depends on balance. Too little, and you get noise. Too much, and you lose the rhythm. But when it's attuned, when each voice is distinct yet responsive, the music comes alive. It becomes more than any one person could create on their own. So now, take a moment to turn inward. What does it feel like when you're living the virtues of collaboration? When you're being collegial and cooperative, staying flexible in the face of change, sensing your interconnectedness with others, and staying open-minded to new perspectives? How do you show up? How do others experience you? And how do you experience yourself? Of course, we all lose balance at times. When you do, which way do you tend to lean? Do you slip into deficiency, becoming confrontational, self-centered, inflexible, disconnected, or narrow-minded? Or do you tip into excess, avoiding conflict, pleasing people, complying too easily, blurring boundaries, or drifting into abstraction? When that happens, what does it look like in practice? How does it affect the way ideas are shared or shut down? How does it change the trust others place in you? And how does it shape your own sense of contribution? Are there certain dynamics, pressure, competition, disagreement, that tend to knock collaboration off balance for you? And if so, can you spot the pattern? I notice in myself and in others that collaboration can erode when competition enters the picture. It can quickly become us versus them, shutting down the openness collaboration requires. This happens not only between individuals, but across teams and organizations too. But it's worth asking, what do we really mean by competitor? Competition can sharpen performance, but it doesn't have to cancel out collaboration. In fact, when we rethink competitors as potential partners, or at least as sources of insight, we create more room for both dynamics to coexist. We can learn from them, adapt because of them, and sometimes even co-create with them. I also notice I'm more likely to tip into deficiency when I'm operating in an area of expertise. I feel confident that I know what I'm doing, and that confidence can leave little room for co-creation. I start to rely on my own script instead of opening space for others to shape the outcome. Having led countless collaboration workshops, I've noticed how strong the pull for control can be too. People want certainty, direction, and predictability. But collaboration requires letting go, making space to see what else might be possible, what others might contribute. That's why one of the exercises we use most often is improv. The moment I shift my mindset into that state of yes and, my collaboration immediately expands and strengthens. To do this takes humility, reminding myself that there might be something truer, sharper, or more creative than what I already know, and having the willingness to try something new. It also requires temperance, to pause, to make room for other viewpoints, and to allow possibilities I hadn't considered. On the other hand, I can tip into the excess side of collaboration when I feel like my voice or expertise isn't valued. Outside of my professional space, I sometimes feel like I'm losing my voice by deferring too much and letting my perspectives of others overshadow my own. In those moments, I need to draw on accountability, recognizing that others may actually want and benefit from hearing my perspective. And I need integrity, to be clear and grounded in what I believe, rather than blending so much that my contribution disappears into the crowd. Collaboration doesn't happen on its own. It takes effort, and that effort starts by noticing. Noticing when you pull too far inward, relying only on yourself, closing off space for others, or when you blend in too much, letting your own voice disappear. The more precisely you can notice where you stand, whether you're dominating the space or deferring too easily, the more skillfully you can recalibrate. Sometimes that means stepping back to listen. Other times it means stepping forward to contribute, drawing on humility, temperance, or accountability to stay balanced. But collaboration isn't built in one grand project. It's honed over time in the small, often unnoticed choices to listen, to make space, and to build on what others bring. Every time you pause to invite another perspective, to share credit, or to adjust your own stance, you're strengthening the practice of collaboration. But like any practice, collaboration needs care. Neglect it and you drift into silos, voices isolated, ideas disconnected. Overextend it and you risk losing your own voice, blending in, conforming, or deferring too much. The risk isn't only in working alone, it's in working together without distinction. And while noticing those shifts is essential, it's not enough. To sustain collaboration, we need more than awareness. We need practice. We need a system. That's what Virtuosity is built for. It's a training system that turns character into consistent practice. Like a gym, but for who you are. You start small, one collaboration behavior, one deliberate focus. Then, Virtuosity guides you through bite-sized lessons and daily challenges to help you build the habits of connection, one rep at a time. Because collaboration isn't just tested in moments of high stakes. It's cultivated in the quiet ones, in the questions you ask in a meeting, in the pauses you make to listen, in the times you choose to step back or step forward. And those daily actions, they're easy to skip, but they're what keep collaboration alive. That's why we train, because the unnoticed habits of listening, of sharing space, of stepping in or stepping back compound. And they decide whether we co-create something excellent, something lasting, something beautiful, or we don't. So keep building.